Hey guys, it's Ethan from Zimmer Labs, and we're here for a quick video on this Roman MK1 that I just, well, it's not quite finished, but it's pretty close. I built for William. This video is intended to give William a chance to check it out and give me some feedback, but it's also, first, for me, I did this one with a fully modular and removable hilt design, which is something that I've wanted to do for a long time with this lightsaber. The chassis that I typically use and that I think is the best is this Goth 3 Designs Master Chassis. It's really well done. The only drawback that it has is that it's intended to be permanently mounted inside of the hilt, which is not ideal, because one thing that's really nice about really high-end sabers with crystal chambers and other fancy options in them is that it's like having a second lightsaber built inside, essentially. Like, take for example a Graflex with a really nice Martin Bayer or Goth Mentor chassis, for example. This one's handy. This guy is the inside, and when you pull it out, it's like having a whole additional fun saber that you can show off, or you can put it back inside the Graflex hilt, and then you've got a really cool Graflex. So, if you have the option of having a removable chassis, you always want to go for it, because it just gives you that much more playability, that much more fun, things to tinker with, etc. And like I said, this is something I've wanted to do for a long time, but this hilt just isn't designed for it, and this chassis is not designed for it. So it took me a whole bunch of thinking and a bunch of builds to come up with a solution that works. So happy to say that I've done that, and it works really well. I'm really happy with how it came out, and hopefully, William, you will enjoy it, and hopefully you guys find this interesting in how it's done. So let's run through it. Start with, as I said, this is the Roman's Inception Elite. It's a really beautiful hilt. Its scale is great. The build quality is great. The finish is fantastic. Typically, to access the crystal reveal, you would unscrew this top grenade section and slide it up, and the crystal would be right here. And typically I do my pogo pixel connector on the inside of the top here, which is connected up to the top here, and that's how the signal gets from the electronics out to the blade. And then your buttons are located in the fake clamp area underneath the clamp card. That's your auxiliary button and your power button. And then down here, typically you would unscrew this, slide it down, and that would give you access to the recharge port and the power switch, and also the card itself, the electronics itself. As for the chassis itself, we'll start at the top. You have a pogo pixel male connector right on the top, right on the hat section here. Crystal chamber directly underneath, which is done in gold and rhodium, with a really nice 1-inch quartz crystal. This is one of the nicest crystals I've done in any saber as far as illumination goes. Quartz crystals are great, but they are finicky. Some of them illuminate incredibly well, some of them just don't illuminate at all, and you really can't tell until you build it and turn it on how it's going to light up, because it's just part of nature. The internal structure determines how light passes through it, and some are awesome, some just aren't. So it's kind of a crapshoot, and sometimes you just have to pull it out and put a different one in. This one I was incredibly happy with, and when I turn it on, you guys will see. Next up is the main wire section that runs from top to bottom. The electronics are down here in the bottom. There's a little clip-on door, and the electronics underneath with your USB and SD card access right there. And then this guy is the homemade magnetic connector that I built, which is the part that allows this to be a removable chassis, which I will get into a little bit more in a bit. This is your battery protection circuit. Then a whole bunch of decorative elements that I did just to kind of jazz up the chassis. This is a laser etched metal panel, and then a laser cut metal panel here. Some decorative geometric applications, some more of those down here, and then in all the windows there are some additional metal elements behind all of the windows, including down here. And there's also a color cycle that runs in a circle around down at the bottom. Your sound is a 28mm premium speaker, and then your main power switch and recharge port. Let's turn it on.
Hello there.
Lots of good Obi-Wan quotes on this guy. The first thing you probably notice is this flashing LED section here. It's a little window that I think is intended to be for the installation of a rice port, but with the TC Saber you absolutely don't need a rice port. And in fact, I don't even know if there probably is a possibility of doing a rice port, but for this I did Bluetooth instead, which is essentially a wireless rice port. It's even better. And the LED that's running in there is the notification panel for the Bluetooth. So depending on what the Bluetooth is doing, the LED will flash different codes. So right now it's basically just saying, hey, I'm active, but I'm not connected. When it connects, it goes solid. When it does other things, it does other things, etc., etc. But it's just a little notification window, if you will. Let's fire it up real quick. I'll show you guys how everything looks on the inside. And as I said, this crystal just absolutely shines. It's incredibly well illuminated. It's 2 neopixels that light it up, but it looks like it's got about 6 running in it. There's a color cycle that winds up and down. Let's jump to the next blade color. Let's see that color cycle up to, this is a blue and white audio flicker blade. And that crystal is just incredibly, just jamming with light. Well, as you guys can see, it's definitely running smooth swing right there. Check out that crystal when it's green. That thing is just jamming with light. It's intensely bright. So as you can see, the color cycle down here matches the blade color. It starts at off and then it cycles onto white and then up to whatever the blade color is as it speeds up. And then when you shut it down, it cycles back down to white and then to off as it slows. And this guy, you'll notice I'm activating it and doing what I'm doing with tweezers, because what this is the switch panel connector. And it's just 3 female pads for pogo pixels to connect up to for the switches. So there's a ground and then your power and your auxiliary, and it's encased in a oval magnet. It's a N52 super strong neodymium magnet, so this mates up magnetically with the other end, and that's what connects the electronics to the switches in the hilt. And that's what allows this to be a removable chassis, which is something, like I said, I was really happy to pull off, and something I've really wanted to do for a long time. So let's go ahead and I'll put it into the hilt and show you guys just how easy that is. With a little practice, I can do it in probably 10-15 seconds, but probably it will take me more like 30 at this point. But the best way to do it is just unscrew bottom section here, remove the pommel, start with this bottom section black piece and just slide it on to where it goes. Reattach the pommel. Now, you want to line up this section that's a cutout or a groove in the chassis itself with the switch wires, because that is a perfect little channel for them to slide in, because that's a snug little fit right there. So if you line those up, first thing to remember to do is to unscrew this little screw greeble, because this is what locks the chassis in place, so it's not going to go in if that's still in there. Then you just simply wiggle this guy up, making sure it doesn't get caught on anything, and line up the connectors. And they, like I said, they're magnetic, so it connects itself. How can you beat that? And then you just slide that down, and then you want to line up this section of the chassis with the screw hole here. And then once it's lined up, you just push it all the way up until it meets right there, the thicker part of the chassis. And you can slide that up and screw it up. You can reinsert this little lock key. Before I do though, let me show you guys how I do these. Little steel pin installed in the middle of the screw. That is intended to give this guy a little extra length and a little something that is both sharper and stronger than the screw itself to hold in the little tiny hole that I put in the chassis to keep this locked in place, so that way the chassis is really secure. Otherwise it's just the screw itself putting a little pressure on the side of the chassis, which is not real secure. This way the chassis is locked completely. And that's it. That is all you gotta do. Slide the top section on, screw it on, and that is it. Fully assembled. Simple. Anyone can do it. And then you want to just reactivate it.
Chancellor Palpatine, Sith Lords are our speciality.
And check out how cool the buttons are. Look at that, they work. That makes me happy. A fully modular removable chassis with all the bells and whistles, Bluetooth, Proffieboard, neopixels, crystal chamber, you name it. Lots of accents, really good premium sound, and a really honkin' powerful battery. This saber is just about as loaded as you can get, about as state-of-the-art as you can get, and performs as well as you could hope. He says, as the blade doesn't go on. Yeah, well, at any rate, like I said, it's not 100% finished. Just make sure that everything looks like it's lined up in there. It is. There we go. Blade is in, lined up, and rocking. So that's your first blade, which is a nice bright blue. Second blade is a deep sky blue. Third blade is cyan, I believe. Oh, this is the blue and white audio flicker. Then a cyan, and then green, then purple, don't mind me just being lazy. I really ought to tighten the blade up with the set screw so that it doesn't go off during the video every time I hit anything, but I'm going to be lazy. Next up, nice bright red with a white flash. Nice slow delay and ignition and retraction spark tip yellow blade. This is the Turbine Blade, which is a modified colorcycle blade. Love that sound font. Nice fire blade. This is the stress fire blade that Tom, aka Megtooth Sith, invented. Love this blade. This is a coral fire blade. This is a black hole blade, and it's pretty cool looking in person. It is little tiny micro black holes that are just kind of appearing and eating sections of the blade randomly. It's a blue color cycle, aka the drawn blade. This is a modified unicorn blade, which is a rainbow blade cycle blade. This is the electricity blade. Then a blue RGB blade. And the battery indicator blade. And then we're back to the beginning. So, that's that in a nutshell. Thank you guys as always for watching. And William, please send me an email and let me know what you think. I know there are still some things to tweak and some sound changes to add, as well as some quotes and the like that I know you want to add, so don't worry, that will happen. Actually, one thing I didn't show you guys yet, but each blade, or I pull this guy off, show you the crystal chamber, and show you some quotes. Each blade has an Obi-Wan quote associated with it. Oops. Sorry. That's useless fingers right now.
Your power is a weak old man. You can't win, Darth. If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine. Stretch out with your feelings. You should not have come back.
Oh, that was Samuel Jackson.
I have a bad feeling about this. An elegant weapon, but a more civilized age. I've been waiting for you, Obi-Wan. We meet again at last. The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine. If you strike me down, I shall become more powerful. You can't win, Darth. You
can't win, Darth.
Alright, so you guys get the idea. Whole bunch of Obi-Wan and Vader quotes, and a little Samuel Jackson thrown in there on the purple blades. But those quotes will be modified a little bit. I actually hadn't tested those out yet, but they work pretty well. But thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned. Got more good stuff coming for you very, very shortly.